Hey guys, I'm Josh Alston,
I'm Alex Fiorella.
and we are a few travelers. And we started making music in January of 2017. I had just got back from Arkansas, and I hit my buddy up, and we had wrote music before, back when we were teenagers, but we wanted to do it more seriously. So we started writing songs, and at the time, I think there was four songs that really came about: "Save Me," "You're All She Ever Really Wanted," "What Makes You Who You Are," and "Please Stay a While." Right?
That's right.
And we ended up going to the studio and recording them. And a few years later, we ended up releasing a full album called "Sunset and the Sunrise." And a year later after that, we released "Head in the Heart." So we're just here to talk about it. Anything to say there?
I remember when we first had gone down with those kind of first few songs, and we were going down to Ben, Two Cats Music, and I remember telling Josh that we were not prepared. We were not ready. We had not practiced enough. We hadn't
Right.
honed everything down, and
Mm-hmm.
Josh was just go 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 go. had to do it. Had to get it out. Just
Right.
he's always had this kind of drive and want to, and when he's get something in his head, he's gonna try to go for it, and he's got to do it now.
Right.
So when we did go down there, it was fun. It was an experience, and when we got it back, when we got the songs back, it was surreal to actually hear ourselves professionally
Mm-hmm.
produced. But again, it just was not. It wasn't fully there. There was something
Mm-hmm.
just wasn't fully there with the album, and it just kind of felt incomplete.
So a few years later, this is when we really start to fully go at it, writing these songs. And there's 9 songs total. And this is also where Alex started to get in on the lyrics. So before, I was really like, I'm the singer, let me write the lyrics. And he finally convinced me to let him be a part of that. And Life Jacket is an example, me and my guitar, Home. So how'd you feel, like to actually be a part of that?
I felt it was very controlled. It was very the first go around again. Just things didn't seem right. It was very controlled circumstances. With, as Josh said, he felt being the singer that he needed to be the main writer of the song,
Mm-hmm.
and I could help out. I could give ideas, things like that initially, but ultimately the final say would be up to Josh and how things went. But
Mm-hmm.
as he mentioned, Life Jacket was the first one to where I really had a lot of input into it.
Mm-hmm.
And Life Jacket, it'll always not only be one of my favorite songs because of that, but it's also the significance that it's the first time that we actually took it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And from that point on, we practiced all the time. We
Yeah.
honed everything down. We really took writing seriously. It wasn't like the first go around, and it actually felt like what we were doing had some significance, and also it was a more equal partnership in creating the music.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like you said before, basically, what you guys can take from those songs is we were new, first time in the studio, first time writing really, and you can pick up on that basically. Like the vocals are a little, raw, I would say, and just overall there was just like this amateur feeling, I guess. So when we finally, like you said, sat down together again and took it more serious, we're more creative, like using a dulcimer. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's a cool little mountain instrument, and just little things like that, like adding in, different instruments, being more creative, practicing more, having more of an equal say on the songs and stuff. I think it really just, it impacted everything. And, we both agree, like if you listen to, the versions on Sunset, there's just something more special about them than like the older versions. And yeah, what a trip, just writing and recording that, and actually, like during the recording process, we didn't go into a studio, right? So we were actually recorded it at home, believe it or not. And tell people about that. That was a trip for sure.
So which that was always kind of my my thing was when it comes to the recording, I was always anxious about recording
Right.
because it's very you have to be in time. You have to have everything. Yeah, it's the set notion that everything has to be perfect in order
Yeah, you have to use a click track and
for everything to come out correctly, sound like you want it to. So it's a lot of pressure on a 3-4 minute song to make sure that you get it right. And that's why we hounded on practicing, making sure that we knew everything, had everything down. And when we finally did sit down to do it, we did. Instead of going up to the studio and doing it, we recorded it just by ourselves at home. Recorded it with some simple recording software, and then we sent it over to our producer, and he put it together. He shaped it all up and
added the extra instruments and stuff, and it like all the pressure was gone, because if we would have a bad take, or if we just weren't really feeling it that day, we could just wait for the next day. It wasn't like we were on a budget and like we were spending money. Like, we had already invested in the equipment, so we could take our time with it, and all the pressure was gone. And like he said, he's anxious. I was anxious as well, which I did a lot of recording on my own. And then, of course, I would meet him and he would record his part. So I'm sure for him, there was still more pressure. But overall, he did a really great job. And, we recorded it, some at my place, some at his place. And I just remember it being just an exciting time, And once we got everything together and, edited it, you could just tell there was something there even before, the producer looked at it.
And another special thing about the album Sunset into Sunrise is the title song Sunset into Sunrise. It didn't initially start out that way. It actually started out as the Yorktown Project, which you saw earlier on the road sign. But it eventually it evolved, it changed, it got its own life. And in the song Life Jacket, it eventually fades into the title song Sunset into Sunrise. And it's the whole idea of the song is about this journey. It's about this trip, going through life, just trying to keep your head above water, survive, and make it. And it really kind of reflects what the project itself had gone through, from where we had gone, having things go this way with Jesse, without Jesse, putting things up, taking them down. Like we've gone through a lot, not playing together. So the song itself kind of embodies our journey with music in itself, and also has the message of life.
Yeah, I think it embodies like the friendship. You could tell the friendship was there. And it really is just one big metaphor. You start off, at the river, like a small body of water. And then, as water works, it eventually moves to the ocean. And then, so the idea is like we're out in the ocean. And then eventually we get back to land, on a beach. And then that's where sunset comes in. And I had the idea of sunset into sunrise probably since, like, we first started hanging out and, like, writing. I just had this idea of, like, most people think, like sunrise to sunset, but I like to kind of flip it and think about it the other way, because I feel like for us, we began a lot later in life than most musicians would, I would say. And, if you think about sunset into sunrise, it's like, it's nighttime, it's darkness, but then eventually you get to the light. So we had a lot of dark moments for a while before we really got to the light. And I think that's why that song really is like it's really our first song together, I would say. Like it's the one where everything just came together.
And then the rest of the album just kind of took off from there. We used that song as basically like a springboard, because Josh basically had to convince me to come back and play, and he convinced me that I'd be much more in the writing process and things would be different. So when I finally agreed to come back and start doing music, that was the first thing that came out was Life Jacket. It just kind of springboarded from there. Then all of a sudden we had Poker of Life. Then we had What's another?
Me and My Guitar.
Me and My Guitar, and it just kept building upon itself, and each song just seemed as good as the last. The more we did it, and it just kind of just kept going and growing into what it is now.
And the last like full song on the album is called Home, and that was probably really the most important lyric on there because, you know, we both have dealt with certain issues in life, and you know, it was nice to be able to talk about all that and just let it out there and just be honest, really. And then that song had the dulcimer in it as well. So 2 songs had the dulcimer in it.
And then speaking of dulcimer, that kind of pushes us over into the next project. The dulcimer was not used in the second project. However, we did order a resonator, and that was the lead guitar in that album. And that album, it's A Head in the Heart, which is another title song on that album. And for that album specifically, I remember we had just got done hanging out, and I was on my way back to my house, and all of a sudden I just started thinking of these song lyrics. And as soon as I got home, I sat down and I just on my phone just started sketching out this idea for the song. And then after I finished, I just kind of started to look around my room, and I saw another object and started to write a song about that. That whole album, it was basically sketched out in that night, just one night, and it was all 5-6 songs. It was, and it was done within maybe an hour and a half. All of the songs were already sketched out, and then once we finally got back together and we had the free time to work on this new project, we were already prepared. We had plenty to go off of.
Yeah, I remember he came down the first day and he had these lyrics, and they were really just sketches, but a lot of it was there. And he's like, you know, what do you think about sitting down and working on these things? He's like, you know, normally you'll start the lyrics or whatever, but he's like, you know, can you give me a chance? I'm like, sure. And I think that very night we had all the chords written for them. I mean, there was even a couple other songs that just didn't make the cut. You know, we had like a political song and kind of a dark kind of tone of a song, but they were all really there, you know, that first day. But of course, you know, as you go on, you have to kind of work on a few things, write the lead parts, but yeah, it was just, I think that just goes back to the friendship and just where we were at the time. You know, we were just so invested in this, and this was our whole life. And you know, I think what was going on in his head was just, you know, he had went through a breakup and he just wanted to get these feelings out. And at the time, I ironically was in a relationship, so I wasn't really like, you know, at first I don't think I really was getting emotional with it. But tell everybody like what really got me there, if you remember.
Whenever Josh became single again, I guess that's when it started to really resonate with you.
Yeah, ironically, then I was feeling the emotions that he was trying to convey. And then I remember one night we just got together, had a few beers, and we put on this song called Pickup Truck by Kings of Leon. And I just feel like we always just really sing that song well. And, you know, I was like, you know what, Alex, why don't we like do a cover of that? And I think at first he's like, I don't know, man, like this is Kings of Leon. I'm like, no, man, like I think we could nail it, and we did. So I recorded my parts, and you know, he learned the lead parts, and that's the only song on the project that actually has an electric guitar. You know, everything else is the resonator and acoustic. So it's just a really special song, and you know, I think I sing it really well, and you know, hope you guys enjoy that.
Yeah, there's one issue with that.
What's that?
The guitar was not actually electric. It did.
Was it the resonator?
It was the resonator, but we did hook it up through the.
Oh, we had the effects.
The combo.
And I forgot about that. That's why it has like a really interesting sound to it.
And that's another thing about working together. the creativity, the connection, it's always kind of been there.
It's always been there.
The tone of the guitar on Sunset into Sunrise, it's really unique.
Mm-hmm.
The thought and idea of using not so used instruments in kind of rock,
Mm-hmm.
such as a dulcimer, or using a resonator.
Mm-hmm.
It's not very common, and that's something
Right.
that I really got an enjoyment out of doing.
Mm-hmm. And something you guys can learn from like musicians in the creative process. Sunset initially started in a different key, or Life Jacket started in a different key, and it was kind of slower. You know, it was just very melancholy, like it. And but the lyrics were kind of like more positive, I would say. So, you know, we had to really rethink that, change the key of the song, change the chords, make it more upbeat. And then once that happened, that was like the moment for us. I think that really just there was like this switch, and you know, Sunset came naturally after that, like the whole concept, and you know, just something for you guys. You know, just watching this, like it really is a trip to go through things like that and see how like the actual process works, and to be a part of it yourself. Because now we can listen back and go like, it's just so hard to believe that we thought of that or came up with that. You know, it's a really cool feeling.
And none of it comes about if it's not me and Josh.
Right.
If it was, say, Josh and another musician, Josh and Jesse. If it was me and another musician, the same thing wouldn't be recreated. It just is the uniqueness of having the two individuals, their ideas, their skills, their sets, what they can do, coming together at that certain time with what's going on with your own personal life. You bring that to the table. Everything with music, it's
really
art.
just about connection and art. Like, you know, we first met watching It Might Get Loud, which is a documentary about the guitar, and it had Jimmy Page in it, Jack White, and The Edge, and Jack White happened to be his favorite guitar player, and The Edge was mine. And when you look at those guys, they are so themselves, and like what they bring to the table in art and rock and roll is just like they could hit one note and you know it's them. And just to kind of have a cool moment for Fio here, which that's his nickname, I feel like he is like one of those guitar players. You know, like the way he plays, the sound that, you know, that comes out of the guitar and the amp, which by the way, he plays a Godin guitar, which is his electric guitar. And I think that's also very unique. But just the way that he plays is very special to me, and I was always inspired by that. So I just want to give him that moment, and anybody watching, you know, like really listen to the guitar, because there's some cool parts in there and some cool sounds. And I told him, like, I feel like he's the only one in the world that could like play Life Jacket, for example. I don't think anybody else could just play it the same way, like you were saying.
Oh, thanks, man.
I'm okay too, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, he's going off on his own, doing his own thing now, so.
So yeah, there's been a lot of ups and downs over the years, but we just wanted to get together and just, you know, talk about a few travelers, talk about the songs, the albums, what we've been through, and, you know, going forward, I am going to be more of a solo artist, but, you know, he'll still be around to help me write some songs and stuff, and that's okay. You know, what we both realize is, you know, people have different personalities. Some people want to do this and do that, and it's no reason to, you know, end a friendship. You know, you can still move forward in life. So I think there's a metaphor in there somewhere, but definitely check out a few travelers. There's some great songs on there, and we think you guys will really enjoy it and maybe learn a bit more about us now. And Alex Fiorella plays lead guitar, and Josh Alston play rhythm guitar and sing, and hope you guys enjoyed it.